All right, guys. So welcome back to the Musicnest.art podcast. It's Louie Love here again. And today on this podcast, we have a musician, producer, and songwriter, Elias Bendix. So Elias, thank you for joining us on this podcast on the Music Nest.
The pleasure is all mine.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. I'm very interested to learn about you and your music. I recently...
happy that somebody cares.
Yes. I know things have gotten very crazy in the last year, and I guess a lot of people have gotten distracted. So Elias, I know you've released a new single called "What We Got Is What We Want." I was very impressed by this track of yours, and also the lyrics interested me a lot too. So. Yeah, it's great to have you on the Music Nest and to learn about your about yourself and your music. So,
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. So you're originally from Copenhagen, or you grew up in Italy and France, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so I'm Danish, but I'm a rootless Dane. Not ruthless, rootless. I've been living most of my life in France and in Italy. So 10 years in France and I think about 3 years in Italy with my, living there constantly. And then I moved back to Denmark.
Yeah, and interesting. And I read somewhere you used to play in New Orleans and hang out in Mexican jungles or something like this?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been traveling in Spain and Mexico and South America, because I lived in Argentina, for almost a year and 2 years in Spain as well. And there was this rainbow gathering in the end of the world in 2012 when the Maya calendar was stopped, and I decided to go to this rainbow gathering in Palenque, Chiapas.
Yeah.
So, and yes, I've indeed been in New Orleans as well. That has been one of the most meaningful musical experience of my life.
Yeah. You're quite a well-rounded musician. I see you play. What is your training? Are you jazz trained or classical trained?
Well, definitely jazz, yeah. Because I study at the Rhythmical Music Conservatory of Copenhagen.
Okay.
And in order to get in there, you kind of need, or I thought you needed to have this jazz background. So I studied jazz. Well, there's two ways you can kind of learn harmony and two approaches to understand music in Denmark, at least. And one of them is classical, and the other one is the jazz. And then Denmark has a big tradition of jazz. So yeah.
Well, it's great. Yeah, I had a little deep dive into your history, and you play some really great jazz guitar. Is guitar your main instrument?
It is.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and nowadays, I listened to your new single, "What We Got Is What You Want," which I think for this new kind of shift of music that you've kind of gone into, this pop or new disco or what you call it, it's a nice blend, because I find, for me, as I hear it, the lyrics they have many different layers to it. I especially like the chorus. You say this, every day I wake up to a fake perfect anatomy, which I find quite interesting with the whole Instagram and everything. Would you be able to expand on that a little bit, and what inspired you for this to this track? And for the listeners, you gotta check this track out. It's a very cool, funky, uplifting track, and the music video is also quite funny. And it's a very interesting take.
So here's a quick preview of the track for you guys. I hope you enjoy.
Is something wrong with me? Is it the world around? Do we keep on living wishing we were something different? My worst enemy is right in front of me. My reflections in the mirror, I see them clearly. Every day I see a fake perfect anatomy, trying to get the best of me. But all I really need, I need reality. Just you and me. What we got is what I want. We can be no one but us. that enough? What we got is what I want. I won't meet another you. Ain't that the truth? What we got is what I want. That's what I want. What we got is what I want. That's what I want. What we got is what I want. That's what I want. What we got is what I want. That's what I want. I used to feel alone in my comfort zone. Kept on making up excuses to postpone my future. But now I realize there's a reason why we're unique, and that's the magic I believe in. Every day I see a fake, perfect anatomy, trying to get the best of me. But all I really need, I need reality. Just you and me. What we got is what I want. We can be no one but us. Ain't that enough? What we got is what I want. I won't meet another you. Ain't that the truth? What we got is what I want. That's what I want. What we got is what I want. That's what I want. What we got is what I want. That's what I want. What we got is what I want. That's what I want. What we got is what I want.
So that was Elias Bendix's recently released track, We Can Be No One But Us. And now let's return back to the interview.
But could you tell us, me and the listeners, what's the inspiration with this track, and how did it come about?
Sure. Well, I mean, first of all, in this track, I'm glad you like the lyrics, because I spent more time than usual on the lyrics. And that being said, it also was easier to write this song. The lyrics came quite easily. And the fake, perfect anatomy, that's kind of like, it's kind of a statement in some ways, because I feel like that we always see a disillusional picture of, what we want to be. And sometimes we kind of avoid accepting what we truly are. And musically, I've been going to this jazz school, but actually really like pop funk. I really like this new disco, Jamiroquai vibe. And it's not that I don't like jazz, but in some way that kind of felt a bit imposed. I had to learn this jazzy stuff because that was what, would give me artistical recognition, at least from my teachers and from my surroundings. And funk, pop music was kind of looked a bit down upon. So I've been trying to escape, I've been trying to escape away from that. But now, years later, after I've gone to school, and I realized, I can't really escape, and I actually like that. That's who I am. So I feel like the song is actually also about, for me, from my personal point of view, it's accepting who I am and enjoying, the beauty of it, instead of running away and try to be something that you're not. And I think I can relate that to many other cases, or many other people telling their story of them trying to be something that they actually didn't like. And,
that's very interesting. I think it's definitely very relevant to a lot of people in this modern society that we live in, where we're constantly confronted through the phone and through social media and Instagram about all these ideas of how to live and how people are living, and it does create a lot of disillusion, and in some ways it does detach us from who we really are. So thanks for sharing that. I think that's probably a large reason to the success that and traction that it's receiving, because I think you hit the nail on the head there. And it's interesting that you've come from this kind of, I suppose jazz does seem like quite a kind of an elitist genre, to come from, and then you're going back to something that's quite, on the one and on the beat, and not syncopation and not all this modulation, and just very much simple and the enjoyment of the simplicity of music, which is great.
Yeah. It's kind of, I usually say that now I'm kind of stuck between these two worlds because I'm too much of a pop guy to play jazz, but I'm also too jazzy to make pop music,
Yeah.
And I've always had this urge that I want to be able to combine the two, combine the maybe slightly intellectual jazz world with pop music, so it's still understandable for everybody to enjoy, because I want to make music people can enjoy, dance to, and make people happy. And sometimes I find that the jazz spectrum is mostly satisfying oneself and few other listeners, but for the rest, they simply don't really understand what's going on, and it's hard to appreciate it because it's made difficult just to be difficult.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, authentic pop. We have enough of watered down pop, and there are some great pop songs that have been jazz. I think like Weather Report have done a pretty good stab at trying to make some jazz numbers quite popular, like Birdland and whatnot. And of course, Jacko has created a lot of
amazing. Love that Weather Band Report. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think keep going with that. I love pop myself. Like, I can really appreciate like a good pop song, and if there's a little bit of a 2-5-1 thrown in there, or a little seventh, and it just makes it just makes my ears just go raise up a bit. Raise the hairs of my ears. So, when did you recently like migrate into this kind of, I suppose, a more, as you described it, a more unique expression of your inner self, which you find to be more resonant with this kind of pop and funk, new disco side? When did you decide I'm going to do this now?
I think it's a good question. I mean, in some ways, I feel like since I was a little kid, or let's say, since I started out playing music, I always had this idea in my head. I could hear music, but the journey towards actually being able to play the music has been long. I had to practice a lot, and then the journey to realize how you actually create music today is very different from what you actually learn in school, or what you would actually learn from a music teacher. So I spent a lot of times, or I spent many years with this earlier band called Cosmic Clown, just playing, recording live, recording many takes, many versions of my songs, with horn arrangement and with big bands, maybe 7-8 people. And then I realized at some point, it doesn't matter how well we play, it's not going to be produced just because we play well. We got to produce it. And that's when I took a step and took a college degree or a master's degree at Berklee College of Music, where I started studying music production. And that kind of like made a shift, because for the first thing, I quit Denmark for 1-2 years, lived in Spain. So my band stopped, and I started calling myself just my name, Elias Bendix, which then led up to be that I actually wanted to make more produced electronic music, but still have organic elements of, me playing guitar, having real instrumentalists, real instruments in there. And all of that kind of came to, okay, it needs to be produced. And now I finally come to a point where I can be like, wow, now it really sounds the way I imagined it, or I want it to sound. But truth is, I've probably had this sound in my head for a couple of years. I just didn't know how to do it. If that makes sense, Like, I know I wanted to make it sound, as good as something else, but I just didn't know how.
Okay, and, you produced this track,
I didn't produce this track. I mean, that's also something that kind of happened in the last couple of years. I can produce a demo and make it sound good, but I have some magical wizards, coming in and helping me out. And one of these people on the production is a Danish guy called Jesper Sidelman, who is this secret mastering wizard,
Yeah, so shout out to him.
So he makes sure it sounds good on every speaker, and he also kind of added, That's What I Want on the vocoder side with his cool synthesizer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the song is actually written. I mean, I'm I've been doing most of it myself, but I have to give credit to two other songwriters involved,
Yeah.
and I feel like it's if you want to know who they are, his name is Andreas Ringblom, a very great songwriter in Denmark, writing tons of songs for the Chinese market and Japanese market, and he does a lot of stuff. And his brother Mads Ringblom, and we had this session where, usually I used to work as a co-writer, songwriter, and I still do write songs for other people. But there was no request that particular day, and we were like, let's just make something for ourselves, something that we want to do. And the main word was like Michael Jackson. We're both fans of Michael Jackson, and because that is, the king of pop, if you ask me. In terms of what.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, a big MJ fan here too. Well, that sounds great. It sounds like you're on a new path for your own creative outlet and bringing the whole producer hat on and creatively producing a track in your own vision with the help of a few others. So, what's been happening in your past year throughout 2020? I know it's been pretty crazy around the world. Like, how have you been using your time? Have you been writing a lot?
Well, I've been kind of not, because I've been fortunately to have a big. I became a father last May.
Oh, okay. Well, big chapters.
That was a big chapter. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
and,
congratulations.
I was really planning. Thanks. So that's been a wonderful miracle that totally changed my perspective on my life, and also it
sure
it hasn't really felt that hard with the corona, with the pandemic, because I wanted to be home with my kid.
Yeah.
So some way I was.
Yeah, you haven't missed timing. Out much. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
But I've been doing music, and I realized I really like to enjoy. I miss playing guitar, so I've been playing with a trio, that could fit in this room without any problems, and we've been rehearsing, playing a lot of jazz tunes, my own tunes, and and also had the time to like finish up this album, because I actually have an album ready now, but I just wanted to fine tweak it, and there's a lot of stuff you got to figure out. You got to figure out the artwork, music videos, promotion, all of that stuff. You got to figure out all of that. And since I'm an independent artist, I really just took my time in getting all of these things done, so they can be ready to roll out.
That brings me to the next question. So you have an album in the works, and it's almost ready to go to tape, and it's and it's going to be in line with this new track. Right?
It is, yeah.
In a similar vein.
So there's many songs now that are produced and done, and it's actually a matter of selecting the best one.
So they're recorded. They've been recorded already.
Yeah, they're done. Like they're completely produced and done. We're talking about
mixed produced.
Like, yeah. So I have the master, and it's just a matter of tweaking the master, figuring out the artwork. Yeah. And the
fantastic.
And the dates.
Oh well, we should have some fresh music soon, guys. I really look forward to hearing that. Any idea of a release date when this is going to come out?
Well, yeah. I think in March I'll be releasing my next single. So already in March, I was supposed to release this half a year ago, but I just with the pandemic it felt like that I could wait. And I also had a couple of new songs that I wanted to add that suddenly fitted the album because of the time that we're living in. Songs that I wrote last year that suddenly really made sense to include. So I'll be releasing, I think, 1, 2, 3 singles before the album comes out. And I think the album will come out by the end of this summer, or the Danish summer, which is in August, September.
Great. And can you give the listeners a sneak preview of the title of the album, or is that a surprise?
Yeah, well, I can. It's not. I'm not completely sure yet, but right now it's called Puzz. P-U-Z-Z. And it's because it's a mixture of pop and funk and jazz. So
Yeah.
That's kind of why I think it's a nice
Yeah.
name.
Makes sense. Yeah. Puzz. Yeah. It's also like fuzz, and you got the fuzz,
Yeah,
the
exactly.
fuzz pedals and whatnot. Great, great. And how many tracks are we looking at for this album?
Oh, well, I mean, at least 10. But I mean,
Yeah.
I have like 14, 15 right now.
Mm.
But I'm excluding many tracks because I feel like it's better to aim for like almost an EP album with
Yeah.
the absolute best tracks and avoid sending too many tracks in one.
Yeah. It's not like the 90s. People don't have the time for an album
Yeah,
anymore,
exactly.
seemingly, which is a bit.
And it's a bit of a single market, like especially if you
Yeah.
want to introduce yourself to the music market, it's better with singles because people don't have, I mean, we have less attention spans in some way.
Yeah, well, that brings me to a question that I wanted to ask you about the music market and the evolution of music. You're probably a bit like me, where you grew up listening to music in the 90s, and from my point of view, it's a lot different. I grew up listening to albums. I'd have my Walkman, I'd have the CD in front of me. Like, I did have a few tapes, but that's really kind of going back. And I'd listen to the whole album in one sitting. And, how do you feel like the evolution of the whole phenomena of music has become, and where do you see it going? Do you think people's taste and appreciation has improved, or maybe not so improved? And, how do you feel? Of course, you're a jazz musician. Jazz will always have its kind of elitist audience, but I suppose from being classically trained, and you went to school, you can probably get I'd like to hear your input on that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's a good question. Let me see how I can answer that. I mean, personally, I believe that there's way more great music right now in the world than there was before. There was great music before, sure, but now there's a lot of great music. It's just very hard to find. I mean, but there is a lot of great music out there, and it's easier to make music. But what I find is unlucky is that it seems the gap between the styles of music sometimes seems to be growing. Like, if you were like at my music conservatory, it would be like this hipster culture that was just very far from what people actually listen to. I feel like there's a lot of great music, and what I stand for is basically music unity. I want to unify people through music, but I find that a lot of times the opposite is happening. Either you listen to trap rap and you don't have any interest in hand-played music like jazz or R&B.
Yeah.
Or if you listen to Snarky Puppy and you're like this musician R&B fan, you don't listen to rap,
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe it's always been like that, but I feel like that's kind of like an evolution that it's not that nice to see.
Okay.
And yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I can relate to a certain extent. Of course, I'd be very interested to know what young people feel regarding music. I'm not so young anymore, so I'm not really in that category. But
yeah. But how?
Yeah,
I'm
that's interesting.
teaching as well in the French school, because I'm teaching music in the Danish French
okay.
school, which has been online.
Okay.
So I haven't met my students yet. It's kind of weird.
Okay. Yeah. So how are the young students? What's their appreciation of music like? Do they listen to all sorts, or?
Well, I mean, they mainly, the influence comes from their parents mainly. 'Cause these are kids from 11 to 14, 15 years old. And then the rest of them is from YouTube. And then you can really tell, like, either you listen to rap music, which has usually no melody, it's just a beat, and YouTuber channels. And then either you listen to, like, really pop music. And, of course, you have some of the kids that maybe their parents listen to Dire Straits or David Bowie, and then they have an acquired taste for music, or at least one that I appreciate. But it's really like either you listen to rap or either you listen to pop, you know. And I don't know if it was like that in the old days. Maybe it was like that. Maybe you only listen to Earth, Wind and Fire or Pink Floyd. You could listen to both. But I don't think it was like that. You know, I think like it was more open in the older days that you could listen to both styles of music. But yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. From my personal upbringing, I think it depends on which type of music you listen to. Maybe some were more, if you listen to a certain type of music, it kind of meant you can only listen to a certain type of music. For me, like I grew up listening to rock and metal. So up until a long time, I mostly concentrated on that. And I think I did have a bit of a, what you call an elitist kind of point of view, but everything changed after I went into university, and suddenly blues, jazz, funk, it all came on the table to be appreciated, and that was the end of that.
Yeah.
You know, so, okay. You mentioned a bit about this concept of music through unity, which I wanted to ask the next question, and maybe you could elaborate on that. Like, what is your dream? You know, how do you see the future? What would you like to see manifest? You know, if you were an all-powerful God, what would you like? What was the world you would create?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think this experience that I had in New Orleans blew my mind off. I went to New Orleans as many years ago, 5-6 years ago. And there was this second line, you know, I don't know if you have heard about the second line, but the second line is basically where everybody's welcome to join this parade demonstration. It's not a demonstration, it's a parade, a celebration where people walk on the street and everybody's welcome to join along and to play music. And wow, I've never seen this gathering of people, you know, like being like in some way unified. It was kind of like a trance walk promenade where all the musicians would just play along, and it was not nothing was settled, you know. It wasn't like we're gonna play this song. It was just like everybody was welcome to just join on their instruments, and that really blew my mind because I feel like music is this magical force that can bring us together and can create a certain emotional field that we can connect to. You know, we can understand something by feeling it, but we don't necessarily can grasp. We can't explain what it is. We can just feel it, you know. And we know we feel the same thing.
Agree.
And when I experienced that, I was like, wow. I mean, that's magic. I want to be part of it, and I want to make sure that this happen again, and that my kids will be able to experience this. And I don't think. I mean, of course, you can probably experience the same thing at with a rap artist or with a disco or a techno festival. That's totally possible because music is for everybody. It's not like somebody has more right to do music than others. But I feel like unifying styles of music is helping people with different backgrounds, different understanding to have an easier time communicating together. Because when you have this kind of magical vibe at a concert where you just feel this feeling and you know that everybody in the room felt the same feeling, it contributes that you actually feel like all of the people that have been to the same room are your friends. And that's, I mean, that's the power of music unity. That's the power of what music can do. And I really think we do need that now. And I certainly want to do my best to make it happen wherever I go. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely relate wholeheartedly with what you said there. And yeah, from my personal experience, it's very true. Music can be a thing that binds us all together, and it is very, very powerful once it hits the right note, and it hits every single one of us at the same time. It can dissolve boundaries effortlessly. And yeah, that's also a part of the mission of the Music Nest too. It's we're here to provide a platform, and yeah, it's to unify across globally all different types of musicians and creators to bring about this kind of unity consciousness, shall we say, through music. Yeah. So yeah, I feel music is kind of like spells, you know. It's kind of has a certain magic. Once everyone is able to pay attention and give themselves to the music, that's it. You know, you can't. There's no
Yeah.
going back. You can only let it take you. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. So, how are we going to make this dream happen? Comes the end of the pandemic. I'm sure many people are thirsty for this kind of experience that you just talked about. So,
Yeah.
you know, how, from your personal point of view, like, do you have any plans after the pandemic is over? Are you going to go on tour? Or, what's your...
Well, yeah, that's of course I'm going to go on tour, but I don't know when and how, and if it's going to be illegal. You know, I kind of feel like you might be like a music terrorist in some way. That if you actually do go on tour and play, you might get problems. You know,
Well, that
because you could
sounds
get
very...
the blame for bringing people together that might be sick or not. We don't know, but if one of them is sick, then you certainly will take the blame. And you know, in some way, it's been very clear with the pandemic that you can't really make a living being a musician without playing live. And now that you can't
Yes.
really play live, it's been like, wow,
Yeah.
we're really screwed, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
So-
it's pretty tragic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very uncertain future for gathering of people and music.
Yeah.
But it just all sounds so dystopic if people can't gather in the future in numbers. It really is kind
Yeah.
of.
But it's gonna be
unfathomable.
possible. It's gonna be possible, and I mean, I like for me, I'm gonna make sure that it's gonna be possible to see me perform and be part of my performance. You know, outdoor. So it's mainly be gonna focus on being outdoor concerts, and unless I can get to Australia and play there, I think it's gonna be a question of finding cool spots. You know, like
Yeah,
great nature, great vibes
yeah,
with tons of space.
yeah.
And hopefully, I mean, you know, hopefully this thing just in 1 year it goes away. You know, it's not like it has to be the end of the world, because we're all, you know, we're quite close to to have overcome the situation.
Yeah, well, it's
And,
it's not uncommon, you know. In human history, we have had times of pestilence, and they do eventually end. Everything ends in some shape or form. So
Yeah,
I'm sure it's only a matter of time before we're all back partying and enjoying the good times and
Yeah.
letting them roll. Okay.
and
So
hopefully with a more
just-
reflected view upon, you know, the other stuff that we need to take care of. You know, I think this year has also been giving, at least in Europe, in Denmark, a lot of debates has been going on toward issues that were kind of taboo, or maybe we thought we got it covered, and suddenly we realized, you know, we didn't really have it covered. We have to rediscuss many issues, you know.
Yes, it's
So-
definitely time for contemplation and self-reflection on a global scale. It's always a good time for self-reflection and contemplation, but especially during this time. And hopefully we can recreate a new paradigm of understanding and peace, and hopefully take something from John Lennon's words and put it into action.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. All right. So just a few more questions. Three actually. You probably answered this one, but like, what really makes you do music? You know, since music seems to be such a difficult way to earn a living, for most people, and you know, why didn't you become a banker? Why didn't you do finance? Why didn't you become a hedge fund manager, Elias? Why do you do such a unsupportive financial pastime as music?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a matter of context, you know. I mean, I think there's two reasons. I mean, the first reason is because I can't not do music. You know, it's stronger than me. I feel like I have so many restless nights if I don't play guitar, or if I don't do music for a couple of days. I can really feel like something is wrong, you know. So for me, it's kind of it's stronger than me, you know. I hear music that needs to come out. I can be paralyzed by a song on repeat in my head that I just need to play. Or I've been having this rootless background living in France and Italy, so music has also been a way to communicate with other people. So, you know, I wasn't able to speak Italian when I moved to Italy, for example. So playing guitar and having a band and sharing music was my way of making friends and communicating with other people. So that's the first reason. And the second reason is I'm able to do it. I can do it because I'm, very privileged to be a Danish citizen, where we have student funds that allow me to study at my school while being paid by the government, having a place to stay fairly cheap, and having actually great possibilities to play paid gigs. So I feel privileged, and I feel like I have to take this chance to do my absolute best and provide the world with great music. And there is no excuses for not making sounding great, for not giving it a go. I could probably be a bank or something else and make that happen as well, but certainly it wouldn't be. I mean, I wouldn't be as good as a banker as a musician. I really think that's what I do best. So I have to give it a go.
Well, God love you. That certainly sounds great, and I think, music is a very powerful thing once it's has ears for it to be heard. So I definitely wholeheartedly agree with that as well. Great. So another question, your favorite and most inspiring artist, who would you say is been very pivotal in your upbringing to really carve Elias Bendix as a performing and composer?
Ooh. Well, that's a great question as well. I mean, there's different people. I'm kind of a Beatles guy. I listened to Beatles a lot when I was a kid. So, but there's one artist that really, got me hooked to this new disco vibe that I'm going for right now is Jamiroquai. I really feel like that's the artist that has influenced at least this album's path the most. And I was listening to his music, when I was a kid, when I was 11 years old, 12 years old. Around that time, it kind of snuck in. I was listening to Nirvana, playing Metallica solos and all that stuff, but way before that, Jamiroquai just got under my skin, and I was just really loved this music. So I would say that's a big influence throughout my life. Yeah. And
Beatles and Jamiroquai, two artists I love too. Fantastic. Okay, so, and it's kind of an off-topic question. We're kind of coming to the end here, but your favorite food, or how do you keep in the best shape to perform music? What are your nutrients and your sustenance to allow you to keep going and finger muscle exercises and whatnot?
I don't think there's anybody that I've been working with that doesn't know that I'm a huge fan of Italian food, and I do cook pasta and spaghetti and Italian food for all my friends, so they know that I'm very famous for different dish. I have this dish that is a very simple dish to do. It's tomatoes, mozzarella, and basilicum with a bit of garlic, and you mix it up with olive oil. My mom makes olive oil, so this year we planned it olives, and you mix that all together, and you'd have a pasta. And I've been doing this dish for many, many sessions and many concerts. So Italian food is my specialty and my favorite kind of food. Yeah.
Wow! So, wow! I didn't know you cook. Yeah. Well, I'd love to try it someday. Maybe you will come visit us in Taiwan. Actually, you said you might be in Taiwan, right?
Yeah. I mean, as I said, my girlfriend is working in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, so she used to work for the Asian department, and at one point we will have to go out. Every 3-4 years we will have to go live somewhere else, and could very well be Taiwan.
So she's Danish and she works in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
fantastic. Well, you'll have to come on the Music Nest when you come over, and
I'd love to. Is it also in Australia,
or we can try your cooking?
Yeah. Say again? I was just wondering if it was the Music Nest was also doing things in Australia now that you're there in Australia.
Yeah, well, that was the original intention. We have done some pre-recorded content with a few artists. My initial dream was to create a music nest that was thriving here, and I was actually going to set it up in Melbourne. But Melbourne just got hit hard with the pandemic. So it's just, as you said, as we spoke, people to gather is just very unstable right now. So yeah, once the environment allows us to gather and do live streams and whatnot, to set up events, then definitely it's going to happen. So yeah, we're just kind of in low gear right now, and once the tide changes, we're going to be back on the surfboard, and
Nice.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I'd love to come to Australia and to Taiwan as well. So if you know anybody, any festivals that need to act,
Definitely,
or whatever,
definitely,
I would love to come.
Well, yeah, we'll keep in touch. We'll stay connected, and we'll definitely keep updated on any events coming up. So yeah, I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, Elias, for coming on to the Musicnest.art podcast. Where can people check out your music? It's probably all up in the usual suspects, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's 3 main places. You know, I put snippets of my stuff on Instagram. I have this puzzle Instagram where there's, you could go and find small videos.
Yeah, I saw that, very nicely done with the framing and the the canvas and the mosaic style.
Yeah,
very cool. Yeah.
So that's the digital album format, booklet of today. And then I mean, there's SoundCloud. I mean, I usually post things on SoundCloud before anywhere else. So you can, if you follow me on SoundCloud, you can hear, the latest tracks before they come out on all the major streaming platforms. And then there is YouTube, and on YouTube you'll find, cover performances, jazz, jams, live performances. So these 3 places, YouTube, SoundCloud, and Instagram, that's where I focus my content. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. So we'll post all the links for people to go check that out. So thanks again, Elias. It's been a real pleasure to chat with you, and we'll talk to you again soon. Stay in touch.
Likewise, yeah, for sure. Definitely.
All right, folks. Thank you very much for listening. That was the interview with Elias Bendix. So if you're listening on YouTube or Facebook, please smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't, if you're listening on YouTube. And if you like this interview and feel that a friend would enjoy it, please share it. So to take you out, I have Elias Bendix's upcoming release track titled Time to Make a Better Day. I hope you enjoy, and see you next time. From Louie Love and the Music Nest, keep calm, keep nesting. Ciao.
Do you wanna know how the world is ending? And if I told you so, would you die? What a gift it is to feel like this in this crazy life. If it all turns black and you fall off track, I'll say, don't worry, if tomorrow might be too late. Don't worry, I see you running out of faith, 'cause nobody knows how it's all gonna go if all we do is waiting. No worries, it's time to make a better day. It's time to make a better day. It's time to make a better day. Do you feel alone with our new inventions, staring at the phone? So remember now what a gift it is to be loved and missed in this crazy time. If it all turns black and you fall off track, I'll say, don't worry, if tomorrow might be too late. Don't worry, I see you running out of faith, 'cause nobody knows how it's all gonna go if all we do is waiting. No worries, it's time to make a better day. It's time to make a better day. just one life. What would be the future if we let our hope be the light? Don't worry, time to make a better day. Musicnest.